This Hall of Honor video is brought to you by the Acacia Guild. To help support Scottish Rite charities, including the House of the Temple Preservation Foundation, Rite Care, and more, consider becoming a member of the Acacia Guild. You can find a link in the description below. Will Rogers, 33rd degree. Born William Penn Adair Rogers on November 4, 1879, in the Cherokee Nation Indian Territory in Oklahoma, Will was the youngest of 8 children, and both of his parents were of Cherokee descent. Will's mother died when he was only 11, and several of his siblings died before they reached adulthood. The death of Will's mother caused some distance between Will and his father, Clement Rogers, who was a leader in the Cherokee Nation working as an attorney and Cherokee judge. Growing up on the family ranch, Will learned to ride and rope at an early age. His rope prowess was such that he could throw 3 lassos at once, all hitting different targets. This feat would eventually land him a spot in the Guinness Book of World Records. Will left home at age 22 to work as a gaucho, or skilled horseman, in Argentina. After a few months, working as a rancher, Will lost all his money and set sail for Africa, where he used his roping skills to land a spot in Texas Jack's Wild West Circus. Rogers then took his roping and pony act to Worth Brothers Circus in Australia. In 1904, he returned to the U.S. and began showing his roping skills at the St. Louis World's Fair and eventually onto the vaudeville circuits and Broadway in New York City. On April 27, 1905, at Madison Square Garden, a wild steer escaped the arena and bounded for the audience. Rogers roped the steer and got it under control, preventing anyone from being seriously injured. This heroic action got Will's picture on the front page of newspapers and giving him plenty of publicity and increasing his earnings. For the next decade, Rogers added to his act, creating more clever rope tricks and daring riding displays. He also added jokes to loosen up the audience. One of his performances was attended by President Woodrow Wilson, and Rogers told several jokes about some of Wilson's presidential policies while the crowd roared with laughter.
This is my first crack at a political speech, and I hope it flops. I don't want it to get over. If it did, it might lead me into politics, and up to now I have tried to live honest.
Following his star turn with the Ziegfeld Follies in New York in 1916 and 1917, in 1918, film producer Samuel Goldwyn signed Rogers to a 3-year contract. Rogers started his film career with Laughing Bill Hyde and would continue to make a total of 50 silent movies, such as Going to Congress and Our Congressman. When sound came to movies in 1929, Rogers made his first talkie, a film called They Had to See Paris. Rogers made a total of 21 sound films. He even made an appearance in the first talking version of Mark Twain's novel, A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. At one point, Will Rogers was the highest paid actor in Hollywood.
Don't be scared of me, miss. Just a radio man.
Oh, I'm in terrible trouble.
Who ain't?
Rogers also became a writer, penning weekly columns in newspapers to help Americans embrace frontier values of neighborliness and democracy on domestic fronts while staying clear of foreign entanglements. He wrote over 4,000 national newspaper columns. From 1929 to 1935, Rogers was also a prominent voice on the radio, using his signature wit to go from one subject to another.
Don't get scared and start turning off your radios. I'm not advertising or trying to sell you anything. If the mouthwash you're using is not the right kind and it tastes sort of like sheep dip, why, you just have to go right on using it. I can't advise any other kind at all.
Will Rogers became a Freemason in 1905 at the age of 25, petitioning Claremore Lodge, number 53 in Claremore, Oklahoma. The lodge has since been renamed in his honor as Will Rogers Lodge, number 53. He was initiated as an entered apprentice on February 18, 1905, passed to the degree of Fellowcraft on March 10, 1906, and raised to the sublime degree of Master Mason on March 13, 1906. Rogers joined the McAllister Consistory in McAllister, Oklahoma, and received his Scottish Rite degrees in April of 1908. Never one to forget his roots, Will Rogers helped finance and build an Indian hospital in Claremore, Oklahoma in 1926. He became a tireless supporter of victims of natural disasters, including those who were affected by the Great Mississippi Flood, victims of the 1931 Nicaraguan earthquake, and he performed dozens of benefits for different organizations, groups, or people, including the Red Cross and World War I service organizations. Aviation was one of Will's great interests, and he became an advocate for the aviation industry and traveled the world. Tragically, it was this interest that would cost him his life. In 1935, Will Rogers and his friend, famed aviator Wiley Post, were touring the Alaskan frontier by seaplane, stopping occasionally to speak with locals. While taking off from a lagoon near Point Barrow, Alaska, the engines failed at low altitude, and the aircraft plunged into the lagoon, killing Rogers and Post instantly. The entire nation mourned the loss of Oklahoma's favorite son. Will Rogers was so beloved, flags across the country were ordered to be lowered to half-staff to honor his passing. Will Rogers was buried on August 21, 1935, in Glendale, California, but was later reinterred at the Will Rogers Memorial in Claremore, Oklahoma, the place he always considered home. He was posthumously elected to receive the 33rd degree of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, and his portrait now hangs in the Scottish Rite House of the Temple Hall of Honor.